sir. I have a dispatch from Major Taylor.
Thank you, Sergeant. Please wait my reply. Sergeant, take a message. Colonel Multi, at the head of Triplett Street, in the vicinity of a place called Farmer's Crossroads.
Yes. Colonel Davis, sir.
Corporal, place another 10 men in front of the wagons. We must be ready to meet the Johnny Rebs along the trail to Lexington. We must be there with the supplies for Colonel Tevis.
Yes, Captain, sir.
In 1863, Colonel Tevis along with other members of the 10th Kentucky Cavalry, on June 16, 1863, the only known battle in skirmish. A skirmish is like a small battle, an attack. The only thing that happened in Rowan County, Kentucky that is classified as a battle and an act of war was the Battle of Triplett Creek. From the research that I've done on this, the following happened. On the map you'll see up here, you'll see different locations. Starting, number 1 is Mount Sterling, to give you reference. Number 12 is Pikeville. C is Maysville. Cavalry units by horses with the wagons, depending on where they were going and the route. And we're going to use US 60 because US 60 and 460 was the main route. Between here in Mount Sterling and here in Olive Hill, that's US 60. In 1863, it was not a road, it was a trail, a wagon trail. There was no gravel, it was just a wagon trail. And the different slots on here shows number 12 Pikeville, right next to Virginia, and number 1 in Mount Sterling. The cavalry traveled 4 miles an hour. Infantry traveled 6 miles in 4 hours. Imagine in uniform in June, as hot as it is today, and it was probably just as hot then, you're in full uniform, and we wear wool. You're marching from point 12 to point 1. But in between here, somewhere in a little town vicinity of Farmers and Moorhead, then back up here to Clearfield, and back up to Olive Hill. You're coming out of Virginia, and the only thing that you want to do is you want to get to Mount Sterling and meet up with the supply train. Because the next stop from there is Lexington, and then on from Lexington is Perryville, Kentucky. What had happened was, as they were coming up 60, and on this map here it shows it better, this here is the tributary to the Licking River. This here is Cave Run Lake. And it was basically the same thing. And finding a map of Rowan County and the rivers and the creeks of 1860s, it's impossible. I called where Gary works, and they do not have anything that old. Kentucky Historical Society does not have anything that old. The current bridge at Freestone and Bluestone here is a metal bridge that was erected in 1901, and that is the spot of the Battle of Triplett Creek. The bridge was erected there off the original foundation of the wood structure of the bridge that stood there in 1863. No written record of this, just trying to find out where it was at, where they came down to. Moore Schoolhouse Road did not exist. What did exist is this, and it's called Triplett Creek Road. And the reason why it existed, that's where the Triplett family lived apparently, back up Triplett Creek Road. And the original road went to what's now flooded, and I think Irene Elam owns some of that land out there, but I remember what she was saying about Bluestone Road. If you're coming up here and you're going down, you turn by where going out to Bluestone to where it says the dog town here. You come back around to get on the bridge. The stream's going to come across here. It's not been rerouted. The oldest map that I did find was 1923, and Triplett Creek follows the same path on both sides of US 60 that it does today that it did in 1923. So I'm pretty sure it probably traveled the same path. Now at Bluestone and Freestone, you've got that big field as you come around the curve. You got the big field on this side of the creek and the bridge. You got the big field on the other side of the creek and the bridge. What they were fighting whenever the two forces met, when they were coming up US 60, one was coming this way, the other one was coming down a foot trail apparently, and they were going over into West Liberty. On June 12, 1863, Colonel Peter Everett and his men passed through Maysville, Kentucky. 300 Confederate cavalry under Colonel Everett passed through eastern Kentucky in order to attack the Union Supply Depot in Maysville, where on June 14th they captured 50 horses, 330 rifles, 25 pistols. June 14th, 1863, Colonel Peter Everett and his men are at Olympia Springs in Bath County. On the next day, near Olympia Springs in Bath County, they ambushed Major R.T. Williams, 30 men of the 14th Kentucky Cavalry, killing 11 and capturing 12. On June 16, 1863, the skirmish at Triplett Bridge near Farmers. They were up here in Maysville, come down through Flemingsburg, Hillsboro, come down here to Mount Sterling, and then come all the way back up here. And the records indicate that 1,550 foot soldiers went from Maysville to Mount Sterling, back over here to Farmers, where they could go back down the foot trail, which was 801, and going back around that way to West Liberty to Olympia and back around to 36. They did this all in one day. In one day's time, these guys were forced to march. The footwear we wear as Civil War reenactors are called brogans. They are 100% authentic. They are handmade leather. And it don't stink. I'm going to pass it around. I sprayed it with deodorant and cologne before I put it on. This boot is 1 year old. I'm bow-legged. Notice the hole in the bottom. This is what they walked on. If they had a pair of shoes. If they didn't have a pair of shoes, they were barefooted, or they wrapped tree limbs or anything